So you guys are live.
Oh, fantastic.
Nice.
So whenever you guys are ready, just give me a countdown and I'll start up the timer.
All right.
Are you at save date, Leo?
Oh no, I was displaying the cinematic of the game, but I can go over there.
Just so we're starting.
There's no audio from game because we're using Mizzow's audio and he's on a silent screen right now. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Leo, do you want the honours?
I'm gonna do it. So I'm Leonis07, French speedrunner, a regular to Dissidia Final Fantasy and all the Final Fantasy series. Started to speedrun that game last year, end of last year, and I'm right here to try and deliver a good race over one of my favorite characters. And
Fantastic.
you are?
Oh, I've got your screens flipped. Hang on.
Okay, well,
Keep
you
going.
fix that. I'm
Yeah.
Mr. Mizzow. I specifically speedrun this just now. Kind of taking this opportunity to try and show off a game that's not got much of a following just now. So we're hoping to kind of come in and just put on an entertaining run, hopefully. We like to play in the fact that every single run is very different to each other. So me and Leo will be coming here with a couple of different characters, and if anybody's got any questions, feel free to throw them in chat and we'll try and answer them.
Just like you said.
Okay, cool. You guys are on the correct side of the layouts now.
Cool.
Alright, so yeah, whenever you're ready, just give me a countdown.
Right, I'm creating the save file. Right. Whenever you want, Mizzow, do you want me to do the countdown? Miz?
Unfortunately, I don't actually have the stream up, so I can't see when the visuals are fixed.
They're fixed.
They are.
Everything's fine.
Mizzow?
I don't know if he can hear us.
I'm questioning the situation. I'm gonna ping him.
Yeah.
Testing.
Hello.
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 Did we have audio issues?
Hi. You couldn't hear us apparently.
Yeah, you couldn't hear us. I was talking about giving the countdown, but you didn't answer, so I didn't do anything.
Oh, sorry. I had no idea. Nothing's happened. Like I just suddenly hear you start talking again.
Nice.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
So you guys can give me a countdown whenever you're ready. I already fixed the graphics and everything. So.
Okay. Leo, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'm gonna do the countdown if you want.
On you go, mate. Do the honor.
Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1, start!
Might I be too late?
So, for those who don't know the game, Dissidia Final Fantasy, originally released on PSP in 2008. It's a kind of a hybrid kind of RPG. Some people would say that it's a tactical RPG. Some would say it's an action RPG. It's kind of a combination of both. So the main mechanics to go with is like we are into a sort of an anti-prologue, which makes us learn how to move, how to use the stage, how to do an attack, how to do an HP attack, because there are two sorts of attack. So here we have like 4 battles to kind of de-rust a bit of our gameplay style. And for that, it's very, very simple. I'm using what I call a dash, like the character is charging towards the opponent. I'm engaging a bravery attack. So that's an attack that deals a certain amount of bravery damage, which will influence the little counter you'll see most of the time on the left side of the game, of the combat zone. And then once the amount of bravery points is high enough to do some HP damage, we unleash an HP move with the square button. So the bravery attacks are with the circle ones. You have as many abilities as you can, but you have to have some ability points to equip them. And if you happen to have more bravery points than the total HP of your opponent, you can kill that opponent in one shot. So that said, we moved on to the real prologue. So now we are coming across the system of the grids. So all the game is alternating between a board session and a real-time session. So the goal is to go from one side of the board to another side of the board in the least amount of movement possible, with the least amount of battle possible. And Mizzow, Omega Phoenix, Smarkin, and I, for the most regular runners on the game, we try to route the whole run in order to get the maximum amount of experience points given the least amount of battle we want. So it's gonna create some route diversion because we are using 2 different characters. You will see that in a couple of minutes. But here we are, the prologue, just to remind us that the grid is made of squares. You can just go up, right, left, down. You can activate some battles by engaging some pieces. You can replenish your HPs and your X gauge that Mizzow will probably come across later on. And by shattering that little chaos piece, that's how it's called, you just put the end of a grid. You get to the result screen, and then you move on to another grid. So Mizzow, do you have any more information? Any more information you want to come across for that promo?
That was right as we start talking, the AI is just having a wee bit of a fight back for me just now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I might have just taken a bit of a time compared to you, just to be sure I could explain everything correctly. So I'm onto a fight. As you can see, I have like 95 points, and that numbers grow up rapidly to 416. And that amount of points is equivalent to the bravery points. So that's what we want to build in order to do high damage. And at a certain point, I rendered the opponent bravery point counter to 0. And once we reach that state, we are triggering a break session, which means we are gaining an extra amount of bravery that the stage can offer, and it adds up to our own bravery counter. So thanks to that, I was able to get 416 bravery point in the blink of an eye, and I could one-shot the enemy because my bravery point counter was higher than the HP health bar of the opponent. So it's all a matter of being able to break the opponent as soon as we can, and also to do some quick math to be sure that the amount of bravery we will get out of that is enough to one-shot or to do some serious damage to the opponent.
Fantastic. So basically what we're looking at here is a run that we can kind of split down to 3 different sections. Part 1, we'll take it as basically what we're doing just now, and that's the prologue. We had the small little introduction tutorial at the start of the game, and then actually into the actual prologue story where we get to use, or forced to use, the Warrior of Light character. Once this is over, we actually go into what is called the Destiny Odysseys, which is where you might see a little bit of a diversion between what Leo and I actually do. Because we actually do the run with different characters, I will be going into one character story, and Leo will be going into another character story. So at the same time, you'll see 2 completely different elements and routes to the game, and then we will meet again back for the final part of the story, which is the entire end game, where we eventually go on and fight the final boss.
That's it. So the reason behind using a different character from each other, first, it comes from pretty much like a preference at the very start. Mizzow was used to run Zidane at a very high PvP level kind of stage. And on my end, I really liked Tidus when I was playing that game casually in the past. And it felt like more suiting intuitively because he's fast, he can move quite good, and he can do serious amount of damages whenever he's played correctly. So that's why the difference. But also, it appears that those 2 characters are part of a sort of a cast of characters that are the fastest available as for now. So there's another one, Squall, Leonhardt, which is as fast as Tidus and Zidane, but the runner who is going with Squall isn't there today and couldn't even get enough time to prepare a marathon run, so he let the run to us because we were as consistent as he was, so that's pretty much it. So I don't know if you already got to engage your Destiny Odyssey, Mizu?
I was just about to go into that, I was just letting you finish. So now that I'm out of the prologue, I've quickly jumped into the menu screen and actually set up the control system that I want. It's faster to do the inputs here because I then need to go into what was called the PP catalogue. While we were in the prologue section, we were actually getting this small reward resource called PP that we then get to use to buy upgrades to our calendar bonuses. Now, at the start of the run, you may have seen it on Leo's screen. We picked a bonus day, as it's called, where when you physically play on that day, you get some bonuses to your EXP, your gil, your AP, and PP. Now I'm just going to quickly do the shop menu and then finish that.
Right, so yeah, that's a very important information. Like, the game is also based on real time for getting that kind of bonuses. So, for example, if you were to set your console on a different day that the real day is, you would just not get anything from it because it's not the bonus day. So you have to be careful about what you are setting up to run and how you want to set it. So we did a little bit of system placement. We chose before getting our runs in to go with a certain calendar which enforces more XP bonuses. Alright, so
what Leo is actually talking
That
about is a
is-
choice at the start of the game called the it's the Dissidia's mechanic of using chocobos. They're essentially a reward system for how many battles you go through. And what we chose is the hardcore option, which has a total of 60 battles before you get a reward at the end of it. But because the run has more than 60 battles, we are allowed to go completely through that calendar and get all of the bonuses that are given through it. There are 2 other options. You have the casual version, the average version, which do 15 battles and 30 battles respectively. But for the kind of run we're doing, we get more experience total out of the hardcore version, which is good because then we get to be a higher level for the final boss.
Yep. So we basically planned our experience route over that kind of feature in-game feature, and it appears that it works for mostly every character that you could play with. So that's good.
So to just kind of break it, because I imagine Leo is already starting with Tidus, you'll be seeing two completely different stories. I'm going with Zidane from FF9, just in case nobody knows, and Leo will be going with Tidus from Final Fantasy X. We still have the same amount of stages. Each Destiny Odyssey has 5 floors like the one we're on just now. They'll be completely different. The two characters have totally different styles, completely different abilities, and different ways in which we actually can use them. Zidane, going accurately off of the kind of thief staple of Final Fantasy, is a quick character that does low damage but lots of individual hits. Whereas Tidus, on the other hand, Leo,
Yeah.
you want to give a breakdown for
Um,
Tidus?
Oh, but Tidus, as you can see, I'm moving quite fast whenever I want to go fast. He's also having like very nifty dodges session. So Tidus is made for speed, for reflexes, because you have to be on point with how Tidus moves and how every moves he makes works. So, for example, here, I just dash toward the opponent, and that AI is specifically made in the way that it will trigger an attack whenever you come close to it. And what I did was to activate my right shoulder trigger to create a block move. And whenever the opponent tries to go into an attack mode, when I'm parrying the attack, it blocks the attack and I can retaliate as soon as possible. And I retaliated with an HP attack because that particular kind of piece only had 1 HP to begin with. So the only thing I had to do was to connect an HP attack.
Now, on my screen, you may have just saw me intentionally flee an encounter. Essentially, it's fast
Yep.
because we don't actually need to fight this particular mob. It's faster just to engage it and run away from it. But unfortunately, because I engaged the piece next to it, the moment I come out of that battle, it forces me then to fight this piece that was right beside it. So right now, I'm just going to do a menu to equip this very handy ability that I just got. Called Tempest,
So that
which
ability
is
to
kind of the
flee comes
MVP for
from-
my run. You will see it
Yeah.
quite often for the rest of the game. But first of all, as much as we have these stories, we actually have these bosses inside the stories. So this is Zidane's first one, Kefka.
So to just bounce on what you just said, that ability from me to flee a battle and to just keep on going onto the grid comes from another feature when it comes to movement onto the board, is that if you're engaging a piece near another one, just like you will see right there, it creates a chain moment, which means the piece right next to you is triggered by your engagement, kind of, and wants to engage you. So you have to accept it to go into the battle, and then you decide either you fight it or you press start, you choose to forfeit to flee, and you can get out of the battle and get back onto the grid and the control for going further on or backwards if you forgot something. Also, you might have noticed that I wasn't doing these fights as fast as possible because those fights were imposing some conditions for me to fill to get extra points. So to move onto the board, you use a destiny point. And the more you use, the less of a bonus you get. And what I did was that I calculated how much battle I needed to get a certain reward at the end of the board. And I calculated that the reward I wanted was a summon stone, the behemoth one. And for that I needed 3 additional destiny points. And by filling all 3 conditions of all 3 fights that I took, I could be able to grasp that summon stone by the stage results screen.
So essentially what's happening
you
on
will
my
see
screen
why
just
the-
now is
Ooh.
I'm getting to use this new ability I got back at level 3 called Tempest.
Uh-oh.
Zidane is primarily an aerial character. You'll find that most of his, if not all of his good abilities, all involve him actually having to be off the ground. But to be fair, Dissidia does kind of sell itself as quite an aerial diverse game. So what's happening is I'm getting myself above my opponent and using this ability, which goes under me, and then what I can actually do is use my dodge ability to cancel out of it, and then immediately use it again, which is allowing me to combo down my opponents with ease.
That's one of the benefits to play with Zidane, because on my Tidus, for example, if anyone was interested in running this character, you don't have that kind of move in store. You have to compose with everything you have, but you don't have an infinite loop at your service, so you have to find some tricks. So this is where the experience comes striking.
Kefka giving me a wee bit of a run for my money here.
Right, so there's another feature you might have seen on my previous battle that didn't get a mention yet. I got projected by the AI under the form of an HP attack, and I just bounced, well, not bounced, I crashed into the walls of the arena. And that had a special effects that we call the wall rush. A wall rush is whenever the AI or yourself are drowned and crashing onto the wall of an arena. If you do an HP attack of that, the wall rush will have an additional damage input to the original input. So I believe it's something like 50% of what you dealt.
Well,
I'm not sure about that number.
It's an additional 50%. It did get nerfed in the following game down to 20%, but for this game it is at 50%.
Yep. So that's a feature you can actually grasp for your own benefit, because if you do a high damage move and you create a wall rush, you can literally render the opponent's HP to 1. You cannot kill with a wall rush. You can only render the opponent to 1 HP, and then you can just inflict the killer move. Another piece of tech right here is that for that battle, I filled my X gauge, the little orange bar you can see on the left side. It allows me to activate the X burst, and with that I can unleash a certain move, if I were to say so, which is the X finisher. So like just what I did is that I did an HP attack, I created the wall rush, and thanks to the X mode, I could use that special attack, which will kill the enemy in one go. So I'm done with the Emperor. The Emperor is a special chaos piece, and compared to the other ones are called mannequins, and that's because of the scenario. And unfortunately, that run completely ignores the scenario for the benefits of speed. So the little story, for being short, is that Chaos and Cosmos created heroes upon some models, some real existing heroes in the series, in order to provide a war. And the Emperor that we just seen is the original one, the one that served to create some mannequins, some doppelgangers. So what we have to do is to defeat those doppelgangers and to get across those real villains and to get rid of them to just advance the scenario.
Okay, dokie, Leo's of Behemoth at this point, yes?
Not for that part of the run. It will
Okay.
come soon.
So, a mechanic of this game is actually, it brings back the classical Final Fantasy mechanic of summoning. You'll have seen on my previous board I actually interacted with a red looking gem, and that's for my summon Alexander. You'll see actually was explaining earlier for his reward actually being Behemoth. And as soon as this scroll piece goes away, so my summoning is proppy here. The moment I break an opponent, it locks in my bravery at the set value that it's been given, and this allows me to not get smacked by Skull. That was not in play. So every time you use a HP attack, which is your damaging attacks, your bravery resets to 0 and then gradually builds up to a value of your initial bravery, which is equal to what you see as start each encounter with. But what Alexander is allowing me to do is bypass that. So as much as I'm not able to now gain any more bravery, or you could call it attack power in this case, I can't lose it either. So I can use my HP attacks without high punishment of it being reset.
Well, I'm not gonna use my summon up until like a good 10 to 15 minutes, but the main basics about it is that my summon will allow me to double my current bravery counter, so it's a literally ×2 multiplication, and then every second my bravery counter goes down by 60. So you have to use it at a very specific moment not to lose the momentum.
There is actually another difference between mine and Leo's summons. You may notice that my summon is actually activating automatically. I know what the trigger is for it, but I can never tell it to not activate. Whereas Leo's in this case, he actually has to activate it himself using the orange circle command. But there's pros and cons of this. You might feel Leo's is just outright better then because he has more control over it. Well, the game balances that by this charging mechanic for summons. You can only use your summon a certain amount of times before it then has to recharge over more battles. So in my case, I get to use Alexander 3 times and then has to go on recharge for 3 battles. In Leo's case, because he has a summon that he has more control over, he actually only gets 2 uses out of it and has to fight 5 battles to recharge it. So, as much as it may look as if Behemoth has an advantage over Alexander, they're both very unique in their own right.
Yep. And it appears that there are not that many summons that could be useful for an 80% run. So far, Behemoth, Alexander, and probably Bahamut are one of the rare summons that could be used. So that's why Squall, Tidus, Zidane are belonging to the pack of characters which can go fast no matter what. Because not only their Destiny Odysseys part are quick to do, their gameplay is very fast to master and they can do serious amount of damage. But there's also the summon system, which outside noise, sorry for that. And you can also have an advantage with the summon because they are fast to use, very handy, and they can really hurt for good.
So what's happening here is I'm actually on the final floor of my story. So the EX mechanic that Leo explained later is essentially the strategy that I will be using to fight the boss. So I have to use these 2 fights leading up to it to actually gain EX. So the fight is going to look a little bit slower, and even though I might have the kill opportunity on an opponent, you might see me chasing them around. Every time we hit an opponent, and especially when we knock them away, we're releasing these small EX orbs into the arena, of which an EX core will eventually spawn and suck in all of those EX orbs, which we can then go quickly grab, gain a fair amount of EX, and hopefully get our gauge, so that then we can try and move on.
And sometimes you have some enemies which AI are set in such a way that no matter where you are, if one of those little bells appear on the map, they're gonna rush for it. So you have to really time your thing and make sure that you are the first to get your hands on to it, that thing.
We find that especially with a lot of the later fights, the AI of opponents will change quite dramatically depending on whether an EX core is on the field or not. So most of the time what Leo and I are doing is we're actually racing against the clock for that to spawn, while the AI is a little bit more aggressive and we can make use of it. Whereas when there's an EX core on the field, a lot of AIs will suddenly become much smarter, dodge a lot more, they'll counter-attack more often, they'll play very passively, and the worst thing we want is to have our opponent running around the stage when we're trying to catch them and attack them. So, this chest here that I'm picking up has this very useful item in it called the Rosetta Stone. Essentially what this does is we can trade this in at the shop to gain an extra accessory slot, which you might think is very helpful, and it is, but what Leo and I are actually going to do is sell this. It actually sells for 5,000 gil, and we will be using that to buy better equipment later on in the run, so that we can, well, have a better time of it and don't actually have to farm encounters. So I'm actually up against Kudra here, who's my final boss. I'm just having to quickly analyse where he was going, then get in, break him, and using Alexander and my EX burst, take him down very, very quickly.
So there's another piece of mechanic that we didn't cover yet. Is those little moments where you see that the game seems to get into a slow-mo kind of way. That mode is called the chase mode. Certain abilities can create that mode, and within that mode you have only two options, going with a bravery attack or go with an HP attack. And whether you go for one or the other, the AI will try to react or not, and usually within that mode you can generate a huge amount of X cores. You can also deal some bravery damage for free, and if you appear that you can one-shot the enemy, sometimes whenever you process with an HP attack, the AI just doesn't block. So that's a free way to do that. Also, just before the fight, I don't know if you paid attention, I used something onto the piece representing Ject. That is called a board skill. And that skill was called Mizzow. That Mizzow is an offensive board skill that lowers the piece max HP by, is it 20%?
It's 20%, yes.
20%. So I'm starting the fight with the enemy having less health than what he would normally have. So I'm taking an advantage because thanks to that, I could just chain Jack activating my X mode, and with that I just landed a normal HP attack that he didn't dodge because the AI thought I wouldn't be able to kill it. And then I just proceeded with the X finisher, and it just one-shotted the boss.
So, I'm actually onto the third part of the game now. This is the what we just call the end game, or the Shade Impulse chapters. During the Destiny Odysseys, what is actually happening is all 10 characters are going through, sharing the same kind of time, but they're all going through their individual stories. Now what has happened is all the characters have met back up, and in the story, disasters kind of hit, where our god's chaos has basically been evaporated into thin air, and we're just being left to fend for ourselves. So this is where all the characters actually come back together, and we're able to just pick again whoever we want, but we're not going to pick a level 1 character, so we're taking for Mizzow and for Leo Titus into these stages. But what's actually happened is we're now introduced to this new mechanic called the Omega stages. You may have seen this particular stage here in Leo's story. This is the stage for Final Fantasy 1. But what's happened is each stage has a base version and an Omega version, where that stage kind of brings in a little additional mechanic. So on this particular stage, what's happening is every couple of seconds, a portion of mine and the opponent's bravery is being pulled from us to then be put into the stage bonus. So luckily what's happening is it's basically just allowing us, in this particular case, to fend off the enemies faster, because it's helping us to reduce their bravery. And you might think, well, what's happening to yours? Well, as Leo was talking about earlier, when I break the opponent, I get that stage bravery. So all the bravery from my side that was being fed into it, I'm just getting back.
Right on point. So story-wise, if you want some sort of summary, so we reached the point of the end game, just like Mizzow said. So story-wise, it translates into our goddess, the goddess of light, sacrificed herself to put some barriers to the main villain, and by sacrificing herself, we could survive the first part of the conflict. And now we are invading the main villain god territory in order to break to put an end to the cycle of war, and then to put an end to our goddess Cosmos suffering.
So actually, what's
And
happening
yeah,
here is
just sadly. Sorry, go ahead.
No, on you go, mate. On you go.
Yo, I was about to say that sadly, the speedrun when it comes to Dissidia ignores totally the narration and the story part. We could only relate some informations according the stage we are. So if you really want to know more about the story, I would recommend you to do casual play before going on to the speedrun, because there's a lot to learn, and it puts every episode of the Final Fantasy series into perspective, and you could just find a tremendous amount of information that you wouldn't have thought about initially.
So that previous fight that I was doing there may have looked incredibly slow, but what I was actually trying to do is build up my EX gauge again. So essentially what we're doing is we're trading off some time on a previous fight to go slower, and what it will allow me to do is actually take this boss just coming up much faster and much safer. So yeah, we were talking about summons earlier and our recharge mechanic, so I'm actually going to engage this battle and then immediately forfeit the fight and flee from it. Every time, even though it's a defeat, your Chocobo and your summon charges are still passing through. So all I've done here is allowed Alexander to get his final charge, and I'm immediately going to go back into the battle and have him available.
True. So we were talking about the AI behaviors. Like, I'm gonna show you an example. That AI, the only thing you have to do is dodge and counterattack with another HP attack. So that's free experience, fast fight, and you get to advance onto the scenario just fine. And I'm gonna equip my summon and a little accessory called a booster. It's a piece of accessory that influences the amount of damage I'll deal soon enough. That's in the accessory. It's in midair, so every time I'm in the air, initial damage input will be higher than if I was on the ground. And I'm gonna use my summon, so hopefully this will all work, because I need to display it. So the goal here will be to break my opponent within the dash mode. Just like that. And I activate my summon double by 2, instant attack because I did it at the very last moment, cancelling the finisher, and this is fight done. Kefka has just gone to pieces thanks to my summon, to my booster accessory that could allow me to do more damages at once, and taking advantage of the chase mode, because the AI thought that I wouldn't be able to one-shot it with an HP attack, to double my attack and then do the one-shot.
So coming up,
probably...
actually...
Sorry.
So
I was about to say that
the, this is the third floor of Shade Impulse 1. Once again, even though we're on the same story, you might see a bit of a difference here. Like we were saying earlier about the Chocobo bonuses, what is actually happening here is, on Leo's side, he is actually going to take one of the extremely powerful encounters on this floor, because a very nice ×5 experience bonus is going to line up for him on that piece. Now, unfortunately, Zidane doesn't have the same setup, so I'm actually going to go around this piece. But it doesn't actually, it's still 4 battles for each of us, but whereas you'll see me kind of coming out of this floor significantly lower level than what Leo is, but Leo, on the other hand, has to take a much more dangerous encounter to do what he's going to do.
Yep. So it's more risks for a better setup XP-wise, and Miz will have the benefit of fast fight and easy fights regarding the AI level. So it will balance pretty much.
Whereas I'm coming out of this floor a little bit faster than Leo, it should probably equate to about 40 seconds to a minute. Leo will also go into every floor after this a pretty reasonable higher level, as giving him more power, access to his weapons and equipment earlier on, plus he'll have more HP and more initial bravery in each fight.
Yeah. So you mentioned a thing that I'm gonna go into. In order to make your character more powerful, you have to equip yourself with piece of gears. And those pieces of gear are accessible through the shop, which is in the customization menu. So here I'm gonna sell my iron sword. I already have the metal knuckles, I dropped them, so I'm not gonna sell them. And I'm gonna equip it directly, so optimize. So I'm quite lucky I dropped the weapon I needed earlier on. I don't know how I did it. To my own advantage. And if I wanted to buy a piece of an equipment, you have the guild system, the money system, and you can sell pretty much all what you want and all what will never come across your run because it's useless. And you get to fund various pieces of equipment to raise your amount of attack, bravery, HP, defense, and so on and so forth.
So I'll actually go into a fight that I did just finish that Leo won't be doing. This Cloud of Darkness piece, you may have saw me stop trying to attack her and start chasing around the EX core around the field, which, to be fair, looked very, very silly considering I didn't actually get an EX gauge out of it. But this is what I was explaining earlier about the AI of an opponent changing. This is a very hard stage to chase around opponents on, so by me going over and taking the EX core to take it off of the stage, which instantly make her stop trying to run away from me, which means overall it's most likely going to be faster rather than trying to chase her around the stage.
Right. So I just reused my summon, and as you can see, by aligning my ×5 experience boost, I could gain 71k experience points, granting me the opportunity to go up from level 16 to level 23. And I also started the battle with using the Mizzow. I wasted the skill here because what I just took prior to that fight was an ether, and that ether resets the board skills that you have in store. Ooh, super lucky. I don't know if you have the game feed, Mizzow, but what I just did was pure luck.
I don't. I was being quiet to let you concentrate on the
So,
Ultimacia piece.
do you know how Spiral Cut works?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so once you launch that HP attack, your character follows a line which is supposed to follow the enemy, and I was battling the Firion just before the eject onto the end of the 3rd stage, and that Firion likes to dodge. And what I did was, I thought I could land the Spiral Cut onto him. He just dodged in the air, and my very last frame of the Spiral Cut went as it was going down, so it was triggering a sort of a block that I went through, so it still counted as a frame that connected to the piece, so I could just wreck it.
So the floor I'm on just now is actually just the one ahead of Leo. You may see me not going a direct path to the end, because what's actually happened is I'm actually locked out from exiting this floor from these red panels, and what I have to do is fight and defeat particular encounters to get rid of these panels, which is why I'm going this kind of snake route around the enemies.
Easy peasy.
Now, probably what we're going to start noticing is, Leo, why don't we take this time to explain the bonuses we get inside each of our EX bursts? Or EX modes.
You can.
EX modes for each character tend to give a different set of boosts to your attributes. Zidane actually, in his case, because he's this very swift aerial fighter, he obtains significantly more jumps than everybody else in the game, and he can restore those jumps by doing an air dodge. So essentially you have access to unlimited jumping. What Tidus does is a bit different, Leo.
Mm-hmm.
On you go.
Sorry, I'm kind of focused on the fight because that
problem.
piece is dodging like crazy.
No problem, I'll take this time. So Tidus has a different mechanic where he actually gets a damage bonus if he is at maximum HP up to ×2. So if you see Leo at maximum HP inside his EX mode, he's immediately doing double damage, which he plans to make a lot of use on later on in fights.
Yeah.
It basically means that as much as we don't ever plan on being hit by HP attacks, and the chances are if we ever do, we can usually recover from it, unless it's the final boss, but we'll see that for later. Leo has to take much more care about not taking damage if he's trying to use his EX modes. Luckily, another mechanic of actually being in EX mode is actually a HP regenerative effect. So if we ever do get hit, we can always use our EX modes to gradually pull our HP back up to a safe measure.
Hey, I see a uni in the chat. Thank you. Right. What was I about to say? Did you talk about the critical potential that Tidus has at max HP or something like that?
Well, another small thing is actually, are you level 25 yet? Actually, come to think of it, Leo.
Sorry, I'm onto a very tricky fight again.
No
It's
problem.
that Terra.
No problem. Just because I can't see. So where we're in our EX burst, we also get this relatively boosted critical chance. But what we're allowed to do actually is at level 25 we gain a skill that essentially changes our EX mode from chance on critical hit to guaranteed critical hits. I imagine Leo is already at that level and may already have it equipped, but in a couple of levels, once we both have it equipped, you'll see that any attack we do inside our EX mode is just critting, which when you put that on top of the actual EX mode bonuses, especially for Tidus, you'll start seeing some crazy numbers from that character. It's going to be good fun to watch.
Yeah, so unfortunately for me, the experience that I got up from now on, I didn't get enough experience to just hit the level 25. I'm probably gonna hit 25 now. Let's see how cruel the game is. Yeah. So at level 25, I'm gonna go into my ability list and I'm gonna activate a support ability, which will allow me to raise the amount of critical hits I'm gonna be able to deal whenever I enter my X mode. That is called the X critical boost.
So once again, like we were explaining earlier about taking a slightly slower fight, but allowing us to gain EX gauge. Essentially, I can take this fight a little bit slower, and it allows the boss coming up on the very next fight to be significantly faster. So what I'm actually
So where do you? Where are you right now?
I am on the Onion Knight encounter before X Death.
Okay, I'm far behind.
So now that I have my EX, I'm going to start going in here and looking for the kill on this Onion Knight. I just need to get him a little bit lower to get my bravery up. There we go. So as much as that fight looked incredibly slow, Zidane doesn't really have a super quick animation set to get into chase mode, but once you are, you get a lot of more EX orbs out of an opponent if you do a knockback ability, which all your attacks inside the chase mode are. So by constantly either ramming the opponent into a wall or by using the free area above to actually just do an entire chase chain, we can get that EX significantly quicker. Here's the first
Right,
boss
so
that
right
we
here,
shared
I'm gonna go to the shop because there's one piece of item that I took from one of the previous stages, which is a piece of mithril, and I'm gonna convert it to buy the mithril upgrade for my sword. Now I'm gonna go to abilities, extra X critical boost, checking my accessory that they are all good. They are, and here we go. So now my goal is to fill my X gauge with that fight in order to hit the final stage piece with all the power I need. Oops. Not if I get smashed
Oh dear.
by the AI. It's an Onion Knight. That's my favorite piece. So the Onion Knight mannequins are known.
As much as it's not full, because he was getting a little bit cheeky. And we're going to go back into some more chase to generate some more EX.
Right, so my fight against X-Death just came to an end. Yeah, I'm that behind. I did a certain thing, which is a trick, because the area we were onto has a sort of an ability to trap anyone and to make that someone reappear somewhere else with half the bravery count. So what I did was to project X-Death into that trap warp zone, and since it was there within the chase mode, even if he wanted, he couldn't avoid any moves of mine. And I was in the watch shot position, so what I just did was one-shotting him. Easy. Right, so I'm gonna have my bolt skills, so survey says...
Good luck.
No! Okay, so what I'm doing is I quit the mode and I re-enter it to reshuffle the board skills I want. And for that particular stage, I do want the invisible skill that Mizzow was talking about, because my XP route depends onto it. I didn't find any route that could avoid that, and I only need that board skill for that particular part of the story. For the next shade impulses, I'm not even gonna bother with it. If I have it, I have it. Okay, second try, cool. So I'm gonna equip another booster, the pre-HP damage. And I'm gonna use my invisibility. And now I can do all the fights, and I can escape all the chains without the need of entering the battle and fleeing from it.
Now, I actually flashed the menu there, which you wouldn't actually do in a run, because I wanted everybody to have a look at the ×3 bonus on the chocobo that was on the board, because this is actually one of the 2 extra encounters that Leo and I are taking, just because it so happens to line up on such a good EXP multiplier, and the gold pieces in general give a boosted amount of EXP anyway. So I'm pretty sure this is the second one that I take. Leo, is it the second one for you as well?
The gold piece?
Yeah, the gold piece on
From...
the first floor
Yep.
of Shade Impulse.
I've just beaten.
Fantastic. The first piece was the first extra piece was actually back in Shade Impulse 1 on the 4th stage, the one where we had to do the kind of staking pattern. But from now on out, we're going straight to the end. There's no more extra encounters. It just so happens that each encounter takes about 20 to 30 seconds by the time you load it and actually engage it. So taking that extra minute allows us to be significantly safer later on.
Don't hurt yourself now.
I'm just doing a wee bit of menuing to get this skill here that I was explaining earlier. And I just need one more level to get my next set of gear. Now, unfortunately, everybody might be thinking, why not just do the menu after you get the next level that you wanted? But because I actually had to take off my summon there, I might as well have
That was easy.
executed all the rest of the menu apart from the shop. And I'm just going to double check, still level 28, so we're not going to be doing it just yet. Hopefully this golden piece will actually get me there. Out of interest, Leo, what level are you sitting on just now?
I'm on level 32.
32.
Yep.
So we're already seeing the ridiculous difference in that one hard Ultimecia piece that Leo actually managed to grab up back in Shade Impulse 1.
And that extra golden
definitely
piece.
the risk versus reward definitely coming off there just out of pure level difference. And nicely enough, that got us to over level 29, so we can actually go and buy the gear we want for the next floor.
Did you get, well, yeah, I was about to say, did you get Mizzow, but that's a guaranteed skill to get, so...
It's a guarantee for this one, yeah. My goodness, could you imagine taking the final boss without it?
I kind of do it on a regular basis, so... I usually don't get Mizzow for the very last boss, so...
You got nothing on me.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about the boss of Shade Impulse 2.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be doable, but...
Now, what we're coming into here is one of the hardest floors to gold split on. You'll see why in a second.
Just back off, buddy.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and done! I feel like the pause is comedic at this point, Leo.
Yeah,
So-
I could say that that piece I'm facing right now is one of the hardest because it has that tendency to dash towards you, and to immediately go with an HP attack. And you kind of want to avoid it because it can instantly kill you. So what you have to do is to time your jumps in order to be very close to it without even being in the hitbox, and you're fine to go. And I'm also getting another level up. So at that point, I'm aiming for being level 35, 36 just before the final piece of the mode that we are in, because that means I'm going to be able to do one of the 2 last menus of the run. And for those who are missing my summon, it will get back very soon. So not on the stage but after, because as you could see on Mizzow's screen, I'm gonna flash through that stage thanks to my invisibility skill, but I'm gonna use it on the floor after. So as you can see, I'm going into the board, and I'm gonna do a straight path, write them down, and here we go. End of the road. As simple as that. So yeah, that speed game isn't too difficult, to the very condition that you are willing to put some time for practice and to grasp the playstyle of the character you want to go with, because without that, you could resort to some really weird case scenarios, and that would make you slower by definition.
It's nice actually to pick up a game that has such a diverse option for each character, considering me and Leo genuinely pick our characters based on which styles we prefer. And honestly, I initially, when this game first came out, I only really played Dane because he comes from my personal favourite Final Fantasy, and that's just kind of stuck. As much as, to be fair, I would, Leo, what do you reckon? At least 7 of the characters are very viable to have quite top times in this.
Technically all the characters are viable. Some are slower than some others.
Oh yeah, definitely. As much as every character, you could, I mean, if your favourite is FF6, you want to grab Terra, or if your favourite is FF2, you want to grab Firion, you can come in and grab any character and get them through the game. They each have individual potential to get to the end of this game just as, or sometimes quicker, as we might be finding the underdog of one of them soon, to come in with a seriously good time for this category.
So, like, so far, I kinda tried to root any kind of character, and really, all 10 should be able to provide an any percent run which locates under the 2-hour mark. That would be a nice objective. And if you were to put some time into routing, into ability efficiency, some movement tech, you could probably get around the sub 140 marathon estimate that we are going with. Because by into the past, some people were taking some drastic decisions as to go through it on a regular basis. So that's a mode that is outside the story mode. I usually, by definition, get Mizzow slower to get to.
Oh, sorry, I was supposed to.
And just because it was easier to do, so and
now,
also because the routing
here
was
is one of the
so
hardest.
normally, even if you were to take the slowest character of the 10 available, you should be able, with a little bit of practice, a little bit of tech knowledge, and with a good understanding of the XP route, you should be able to hit the sub 2-hour mark and to flirt with the sub 140 mark. So that's all up to you. We, the community of Dissidia, are willing to help, to give you the route, to help you through some movement tech. Why not? But you really have to show some sort of self-motivation, because if you're waiting to have everything by the grasp of your hand, I could say that that now is one of the... It has that we are willing to help, but we are not willing to babysit or to assist. So, well, not assist in the sense like giving friendly advice, giving some tips. Like assist in the sense that we are to do the work for you and not with you.
Just back off, buddy. Ready?
Now,
Nope.
unfortunately, oh my dear,
Don't hurt
unfortunately there
yourself
isn't
now.
really much else for us to actually cover until we get to the specific points of the game. So anybody that maybe hasn't played this game or has played it earlier and maybe has any questions, even if it's mechanical, we're quite happy to take them.
Wait. Oh, that's the last one. I was going with the right setup and I forgot where I was.
You think that's bad? I tried to do a menu that isn't queued for another another two battles. Now, what's happening is, I believe, at least I know myself, is coming up for the end of Shade Impulse 2 here. There's only a couple more battles left,
You got
and there's
nothing on
actually
me.
4 Shade Impulses in total. The first and second one being quite significantly longer than the final 2. So we'll be able to rush through those with a relatively quick pace. But now, I'm just going to quickly do the menu that was actually designed for here. Get my summon back on for this next piece. Now, unfortunately, this means I'm not actually going to have my summon for the boss coming up, but we've got a different strategy for that.
There's something in chat that I can probably answer. So if the audio is coming from me, I originally inputted like a 0.750 seconds delay to match my game feed. So you'll hear me at the very same time as what my game feed proposes. And now Mizzow should be on no delay at all, so it should match what happens on his screen.
I didn't realise we'd actually switched over. Was I giving it an issue?
I don't know.
Oh well, as long as both feeds are okay, we're all good. Now, essentially what's happening
Because,
here is I've actually chosen to use Alexander on this fight, not the boss, because this fight in particular, and you know,
That
the
was easy.
running joke of how Onion Knights are always tricky encounters to deal with. It's just much quicker to take a faster fight here and a slightly slower boss.
Right, so
Just gonna
normally that
Just
fight
back
should
off, buddy.
grant me the next level.
So we're actually on the Omega stage of Pandemonium, the Final Fantasy II area, and we're hoping for good luck with the floor, and we got it! Fantastic! So I'm going to
Wow,
quickly jump over the Emperor and start comboing up, if he would be a good boy. Oh, actually, I'm going to run it in VX, that's a shame. I may be losing the floor here, Leo.
Oh,
Yep, I'm having to take a bad floor, we had to reset.
well, that gave me some times to catch up.
No problem at
Because
all.
I'm fighting the Onion Knight just prior to the Emperor.
Okay, we got the
This'll be
opening
over in
we
a
want with him.
flash.
Now we're just hoping for the EX core to actually spawn right where we're fighting, and we got it, fantastic. So that's actually restoring my EX gauge, and it's going to allow me to stay in the form much longer. Now the mechanic of the Omega stage for Pandemonium here is that if you get hit by one of those spikes, it's going to take a serious drain onto your bravery, just like it did there. Unfortunately, I'm just checking the HP range there, and just because we get hit by that spike, we're gonna have to do the fight again, but we got the good setup at the start. So now we don't need to worry about the spikes. We have free reign just to bully Emperor into the ground.
Okay, I'm redoing the fight because I'm kinda
This'll be over in a flash.
goofing up. So that Onion Knight piece loves to dodge and to counter. it or to assist. So, well, not assist in the sense like giving friendly advice, giving some tips. Like assist in the sense that we are to do the work for you and not with you.
You'll be sorry.
Now, unfortunately,
No.
oh my dear. Unfortunately, there isn't really much else for us to actually cover until we get to the specific points of the game. So anybody that maybe hasn't played this game or has played it earlier and maybe has any questions, even if it's mechanical, you know, we're quite happy to take them.
Wait. Oh, that's the last one. I was going with the right setup and I forgot where I was.
Try to do a menu that isn't due for another two another two battles.
Sure, I'll take you.
Now, what's happening is, I believe, at least I know myself, is coming up for the end of Shade Impulse 2 here. There's only a couple more left, and there's actually 4 Shade Impulses in total. The first and second one being quicker than the final. We'll be able to rush through those with a relatively quick pace. But now, I'm just going to quickly do the menu that was actually designed for here. And get my summon back on for this next piece. Now, unfortunately, this means I'm not actually going to have my summon for the boss coming up, but we've got a different strategy for that.
There's something in chat that I can probably answer. So if the audio is coming from me, I originally inputted like a 0.750 seconds delay to match my game feed. So you'll hear me at the very same time as what my game feed proposes. And now Mizzow should be on no delay at all. So it should match what happens on his screen.
I didn't realize we'd actually switched over. Was like an issue?
I don't know.
Oh well, as long as both feeds are okay, we're all good. Now, essentially, what's happening here is I've actually chosen to use Alexander on this fight, not the boss, because this fight in particular, and you know, the running joke of how Onion Knights are always to deal with, it's just much easier and he's slightly slower boss.
So normally that fight should ground.
Mega stage of Pandemonium, the Final Fantasy II area, and we're hoping for good luck with the floor, and we got it. Fantastic. So I'm gonna quickly jump over the Emperor and start comboing up. It would be a good point. Oh, VX, that's a shame. I may be losing the floor here, Leo.
Oh.
Sorry team, we're just trying to get Leo back in here and viewable for you.
We got it.
You want some of this?
Yep, I know your stuff is pretty fun.
Okay, cool.
Fantastic. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Alright, that Onion Knight piece behaved just fine.
And that's the way you do it.
So, Mizzo, which board skill did you get for Shade Impulse 3?
I actually got scanned, so unfortunately we are having to flee a lot of
Yep.
chained encounters.
Me too. I got Temblor, Scan, and Cure.
No problem. Essentially, so like on the previous floor where we would have to reset for invisible, you take about a 40-second time loss for resetting, but by doing Shade Impulse 3 without invisible, we have to flee a total of 3 encounters, each draining about 20 seconds each. So we value that it's better overall just to take the extra 20-second time loss you would get if you got invisible on the very next reset, because the moment you start losing time to resets, you'll just get further and further behind. So we have both accepted that rather than trying to chance RNG over and over again, losing 40 seconds at a time, we just take, unfortunately, we just need to take the minute loss.
Yeah, unfortunately, whether it is for Tidus, Zidane, or some other characters, we could actually adjust the XP route according to that. So, if you were to get invisible on Shade Impulse 3, you would still get a decent XP route with it, and if you do not get it, you can still manage your way through the whole run XP wise. So that's a nifty situation that we thoroughly investigated in order to be sure that whatever happens, we can at any moment go for the right experience route, because we found out that making every runs revolving around the XP route is faster than just going for the minimum experience or minimum fight amounts to get, because of the very final boss, which has a fixed level, and if you are below that fixed level, you get some serious stat differences that could lead you through an amount of death loops.
Now, unfortunately, we have come to the golden floor, as we like to call it. We're taking 4 encounters here back to back that are all golden pieces, all love to run away from us. Caught that one there. Now, you may have saw me do a menu very quickly before this. We have eventually got to the end of our 60 battle chain for our Chocobo. Our reward for that was actually an item called the Chocobo Feather, which once we equip it, allows us to gain double the experience from every encounter we go into, at the cost of the accessory itself had a 30% chance to break every encounter. So we're equipping it here when we're having to fight all of these gold pieces, which give much more experience, and just hoping that it doesn't break. There we go, caught Zidane, just lovely. These pieces like to use a variation of different summons just to break down your bravery to 0, basically meaning that you have to take 2 attacks to kill them. Okay, what's happening here is on this floor, every piece is actually... Oh, careful, don't want to touch that. Every piece is actually hidden. It looks as if it's faster just to go straight through the middle, but those are actually incredibly high level pieces, which basically have the potential to knock us straight out in one shot.
Alright!
Oh, Furion was okay there, he managed to get his summon off, but we recovered.
I'm about to hit the Zidane piece.
Fantastic. You're making really good time, mate.
Did you pause by any chance?
No, I didn't.
Because
I didn't, honestly.
okay,
Chat is my witness. You said no to keep going, so I kept going.
because I'm genuinely surprised that I'm that close to you with all what happened into the run, so that's good.
That's the way you do it.
I'm actually quite happy you are. I would I'm very much like the pressure of a close race.
Yep.
And the squall piece is actually kind of messing us up a little bit here. I'm going to quickly go and grab this EX core to reset his AI.
So generally, which level do you get whenever you face Garland?
Honestly, I believe it's just shy of 40. And we finally caught Squall there. Very, very tricky piece on a stage that he just loves to run around and use a lot of nooks and crannies to hide in. But now we're heading off already to the final boss of Shade Impulse 3. Like we said, like these final 2 chapters are significantly faster than the first and second one.
So this is where I'm gonna equip my Chocobo item.
Unfortunately, this specific board means we can just go straight to the final boss, but it also means we are not going to have any chance to generate EX. So I'm going to quickly put Alexander back on. We're going to dive straight head first into Garland.
So I'm on the score piece. So that the little trick with that piece is that it has an item called Second Chance. So whenever you are about to deal a killing blow onto it, it survives with 1 HP and you have to redo a killing blow right behind in order to kill it for good. Some enemies has that. Some enemies have that. So you have to be careful.
Very, very good Garlands there. What you see me doing at the start is actually waiting for Garland to come down. If you stay far enough away from him, he'll actually ride on the ledges of the ramp, which is allowing me to get a block onto him, and just while he's in his stagger allows me to engage him very, very safely.
Right, so on my end, I'm gonna operate the very last menu of the run. After that, I'm not gonna do anything but equipping 1 accessory.
Here we go.
So selling everything I don't need.
Going straight into Shade Impulse 4. Now, in contrast to the previous 3 Shade Impulses, they each had 5 stages. This one only has 2. So we're essentially, this is essentially a boss rush to the end of the game. And we're actually looking for the skill jump, and we got it. Fantastic. This is going to allow us to jump over a piece later on, saving us a whole encounter.
Oh, normally all the menu sessions are quite visible because you stay inside the menu for quite a while.
Fall down fate's spiral.
Right, my Garland fight.
Good luck.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that. Come on, Leo.
Oh.
Whoa, whoa. Here we go. Hit that. Here we go. Hit that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Here it comes. You're gone. Hit that. Here we go. Hit that.
Okay, finally.
Well done, mate.
It took way too much.
Oh, I was
So I
starting to
still had
stress out
my,
there.
yeah, I still have my experience boost something, and I'm all the way up to 52 now.
Jeez, so Leo. The chocolate feather's really doing you some work today.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, for what it's worth, I've just gotten level 44. So I'll actually go it now that I was trying to give Leo some serious time there. These bosses are all very, very tricky and can just take you out of the game if you're not wary of them. But essentially what's happened is my final skill that I equipped was called Sneak Attack. We get that at level 42. It basically means it gives us a heightened crit chance if we're attacking the enemy from behind.
Sneak attack is 43.
Is it 43?
Yep.
Well, talk about...
Because
talk
whenever I try to aim for 44 for getting the jet shot, I go by the... I overpass the level 43 and I get sneak attack at the same time.
This is why we let Leo talk more than me.
Nah, go for it.
Oh, no bother. So, we're coming up to... Thankfully, because I actually have the jump ability, I'm going to be able to avoid the second to last encounter and go straight to the final boss. Where I'll be using a combination of the boss's very large hitbox, along with Zidane's aerial finesse and sneak attack to try and essentially loot the boss to defeat him. Now what is actually going to happen is it's going to be very hard to talk during, so I'm trying to get all the explanation out just now. But this boss is the definition of saying no. Anybody that's ever, played an RPG will always have that one boss that just, you look at it, he looks at you and he's just like, no, you're not winning this fight today. This is that boss. So I'm going to put Alexander on. Oh, my chocolate feather's gone. I'm going to put this item here that we got back. Just letting it flash on screen here. This is going to increase my initial bravery. And here we go, mate. So Chaos here is actually a 3-phase encounter, but if I want to retry or die at any time, we need to go all the way back to phase 1.
Just back
So I'm
off,
going to
buddy.
quiet down here and try and get this looking.
Finish.
Get behind him. Oh, that's what we mean about him just wanting to say no. Get behind him. Hopefully we can grab him.
That
And
was easy.
we seem to have got him. Now, unfortunately, I can't just mash inputs for this tech. It's actually more of a like very gentle timing. But we're gonna grab him. That's
Just
phase 1
back off,
over.
buddy.
Now, unfortunately, Alexander is now away for the rest of the other 2 fights, so we're on our own here completely. Hopefully get behind him. Oh, he's saying no again. Oh, that height might be just a bit high. Oh, and he's broken his. And he's caught us. Unfortunate.
That was easy.
So unlike Mizzow, my board skills aren't giving me the option to skip any kind of piece on the very last floor. I do have Mesmerize, so that will help me for the first phase of the Chaos fight.
Back off, buddy.
So you're on the second phase right now?
Oh, he actually killed me, so I'm back on the first phase.
Oh no. So yeah, that's the trick about the very last boss. Like, it's in 3 phases. If you get killed on any of those phases, even if it's the last one, you start back over from the first one. So this is why the estimate right now is at 140, because we can practically grind our way for consistency in under 130, but that final boss is just that trollish that it forces us to take an extra bit of safety in the timing. And actually that 140 mark is just perfect because it allows us to make good use of any kind of bad situation when it comes to board skills and stuff. If you have to reset Shade Impulse 2 for too much, something like that. And if you were to die on one of those phases, you would really want to take some extra time to recover, to recollect your mind, and to be sure that you can operate the run just as good.
So here we're actually managing to keep Chaos in our loop for the second phase. Thankfully not taking any damage this time. But no Alexander, so we're going to have to be here for a little bit longer. Now we should note that for both the combo that I'm going to be using and the combo that Leo's going to be using, Chaos at any point can break out of it. The moment his AI just says, nope, I don't want to be here anymore, he is gone and he will counter-attack us, potentially to our death. The combination of all of Chaos's very large hitbox and very large attack and long attacking animations basically make him near impossible to dodge.
So thanks to the fact that I can't skip any pieces of that floor, so I'm gonna flee that one, I could build a free X gauge right before entering Chaos fight. So my personal intake into that final fight is that the very first fight you have to manage the way manually without any kind of help. And the second fight I'm going to use my summon for ensuring a quick kill. And the very last phase I'm going to activate my X mode, do tremendous amount of damage, and finish it with an X move, an X finisher. So here we are, starting the first phase of Chaos.
If I may interrupt you there, mate, Chaos might be behaving himself here. We might have a win. Hopefully I've not just jinxed that. I should have put on Meal Twister for a swag finish, but we're just going to play it safe here. In fact, let's finish up with our EX burst. Because nobody's got to see this entire animation yet. GG, mate. Whew.
Yeah, time happens whenever you see the final blow appearing on the screen.
Well, I mean,
Oh, okay. I'm gonna tell you whenever it's time. Okay, that's first phase. Pretty gentle. I could even use energy rain Mizzow, so to tell you.
Oh goodness.
Oh, I could have blocked that.
Oh my goodness, what's happening to my stream?
Uh-oh.
That's back at Garland, Jesus.
yeah. Oh, I know.
Okay.
And I even tested it in an outside, like on a different computer on my DLC, and it was fine. So,
Okay, that's second phase done. Ready to call the time. So far it's going very, very good. Being level 54 really helps.
$132.
Time.
132.
Woohoo!
Well done, mate.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever gonna know what mine's is.
Well, so I had you running through a VLC source and it was stuttering like really bad. So I switched it to media source and it was less stuttery but super delayed. So yeah, it is. It is. And I tested it in multiple instances of VLC and it was identical to what I was seeing on stream. So it wasn't my thing. Well, I don't know, I'm using Leo's audio.
But the video's way behind.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't get it.
Goodness.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't get it. But,
1-4.
So what was your time?
I
Mizzow?
would guess, based
I
upon
will
when
say,
I
mate,
thought I
I
heard you
wasn't
say
really
GG,
hard.
that it was
I
about
definitely
129.50-ish, 130. Somewhere right in there.
Yeah.
Somewhere right
I mean,
in there.
that's- I'll take both our times, considering the amount of
Oh, yeah,
horrible opponents
I'm
we
taking
both
that
took,
time.
and your entire
Yep.
downtime. Like, that's very respectable considering. Well done, mate.
Yep. I'm genuinely happy. Like, I kind of came onto a point with that game that I kind of hit the rock bottom of it because I was genuinely being irritated with the RNG and how I was managing the fights, especially the chaos fight. Now I got some practice in, so I can practically react to any kind of things, even though you saw that chaos could chain me like I was a bug. But apart from that, I'm genuinely happy considered what happened. Not having invisible for Shade Impulse 3, not having any useful board skills for the very last stage, except for Mizzow, getting all kind of stressed out because of the technical problems. So I think now I'm pretty much geared to run Dissidia for another marathon, and that's pretty much what we were aiming for. So we're probably gonna use that kind of event to promote the game and having another shot for another event very soon. So that was quite good.
Alright. Well, we'll have...
I think I've learned how to
I think it's fair
perform.
enough to. I think it's fair enough to not have everybody sit through
Yeah,
the
yeah,
painful viewing
I'm
of
gonna-
whatever
yeah.
happened to my stream. I feel
Alright,
as if we
so I'm gonna go ahead and
get
send
that
us back to
every time it
intermission,
ever
and we'll be back with Torchlight soon.
So I'm gonna go ahead and send
Thanks. Yep, with Delm. Thanks for your runs, guys. Sorry
With
about the tech
Delm?
trouble.
Yep, with Delm. Thanks
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
runs, guys.
Everyone.
No
Thank
problem,
you
mate.
for
Pleasure
having
to
us.
be
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm
I know,
not
I know,
amused
it's
by it
pretty-
at this point, considering what I'm currently watching.
I know.
I feel like I'm back on an actual PSP, right, Leo?
Huh?
Never mind, mate. Just calling out console.
This
But
isn't the,
thanks for
Yeah.
having us, mate. Good show. Good
Alright.
luck with
Another dream is
everybody
waiting
else
to
that's
be
still
Alright,
to go.
we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Same here.
Alright, cool. Sorry.